Good evening, Namibia. Good. Sorry, it's me again. Okay, I'm going to be talking about the sustainable side of innovation. Okay, and let me make this clear right from the start, that without sustainability, we have no innovation. It disappears. There is no such thing as innovation without sustainability. Well, there is, and that's bad innovation, innovation that doesn't work, that uses your valuable money, that wastes your time and wastes the learner's time. And I do want to talk about two things that all of you in Africa will be well familiar with, and that's mosquitoes and turtles. Okay? Mosquitoes are those short-lived, annoying little creatures that take up a lot of your time, and we wish they didn't exist. Turtles are a bit boring, you know, but they live a long time. They're sustainable. They're nice. And I'm on the side of the turtles, guys, not mosquitoes. Because this continent, Europe, the US, it's swarming with mosquito projects. There are loads of them around. But let's think seriously. I have a business by background. I've lived all my life investing in tech companies. Innovation is my game. But I'm a serious business guy, and if I just thought about innovation on its own, I would have been out of business within a month. Because there's a very famous graph that's taught to everyone who goes in business to business school, and that's the Gartner graph. If you look at this graph, if you're not careful, you'll find that your projects will go up to the peak and fall into the trough of disillusionment. And that's what your Prime Minister called the spectacle of hallucination, a dangerous place to fall. Where are tablets? At the top of the hype cycle. And where are tablets going to go next? Into the trough of disillusionment, as sure as the sun comes up tomorrow, guys. Because the truth of the matter is that you're being sold lots of shiny objects without really realizing that the battery life will go soon, and within a year they'll be selling you another shiny object at exactly the same price. Another thing you learn in business school, Geoffrey Moore's crossing the chasm. It's okay for innovators, this green bit at the bottom of the graph here. Then the early adopters, people like Google Glass at the moment, it's about 1,500 people. Then the big, scary chasm, because most projects drop into that chasm. Most mosquito projects drop into the chasm. They're non-sustainable for all sorts of reasons. If you're a turtle, though, you're right up there. Slow but sure, you've done your planning. You know where you're going slowly, but you'll get there. Because turtle projects think about these things, these really important things, and I've heard this at every session I've been in today. Think about sustainable technology, think about teachers and teaching, how they're going to react to these projects. Think about the stakeholders, think about change management, and think about the learners. Do these young people really want what you're giving them? Will they use it? Maybe. Do you have electricity? Do you have plugs, cables, servers, UPS? Have you really planned this carefully enough? Do you have the resources you need? And have you thought enough about the diversity of the culture of local languages? Because I've seen lots of English-based programs in Africa. Lots of them. But more worryingly is a US-based cultural content on those machines. But the big one is cost. Don't be fooled into thinking that something that $200-300 is just $200-300, because there's sustainability costs of maintenance, support, the 101 things you have to do to keep that project going. It's nowhere near $200-300 per item. Mosquito projects. Yeah, they're innovative. You'll see the reports. They'll come in, from those big IT companies, the feel-good TED Talk stuff, the holes in the wall. Keep on taking the tablets. You've heard all these phrases. They're in every bit of marketing literature and every stand in this exhibition hall. And the large IT companies are behind those doors with politicians doing the deals. The major sponsor of this conference, the second major sponsor of this conference, I wonder what those guys do for a living. Oh yeah, I remember, they sell hardware. They sell hardware, that's all they do. Don't imagine that Bill Gates knows a heck of taught anybody in his life. He's a geek. He likes programming on his own. And this is worrying when these guys are leading the show. Because they're powerful, and they know what they're doing, and they do good things. But it's not the whole story. Because if you load up your cart with a load of hardware, your donkey ain't going anywhere. Ain't going anywhere. And that's what's happening in these projects. You're being sold a whole load of hardware, it's getting delivered in, and that poor donkey is left there hanging. Okay, let me illustrate this by example. Does anybody know what this is? This is Sugata Mitra's Hole in the Wall project. And it is literally 3 holes in the wall. Because there are no computers in the Hole in the Wall project. It was non-sustainable. This is what's left of the Hole in the Wall project. This is what happens when you don't plan. And this is a serious business, because people like Sugata, who's a nice guy, are behind closed doors with ministers, selling them an anti-teacher message. Don't worry about schools or teachers, just shove things in a wall. Do you think Sugata's kids are learning that way? Do you think the University of Newcastle has put holes in the wall? Do you think MIT has abandoned everything and just put computers in the wall? This is another one. Another hole in the wall project, shut. Another worry, this was when it was actually running. Look at this photograph carefully, because what subsequent research found was very interesting. Who's not in this picture?
Girls.
Girls are not in this picture. What size are the boys who are using the machine? The big guys, the bullies. Where are the little guys? Behind. And that's what happens. That's what happens when you leave kids on their own. The bullies win. That's why we need teachers, that's why we need parents, that's why we need old people like me. Now look at the research for a minute. Let's get academic. I'm not saying this myself. I don't read India, but I do read the research. Research which is suppressed. This is Smiler Arora from Erasmus University of Nottingham. What did she find when she went to look at Hole in the Wall projects? The only evidence came from the Hole in the Wall people themselves. It didn't compare schooling with holes in the walls, because it didn't compare like with like. The comparison was meaningless. The hole in the wall became actually what Sugata did eventually, shove them into schools. It didn't actually work out there. And what is the hole in the wall when you put it in a school? It's just a computer in a school. So there's a card trick here. You play one card in your TED Talks, kids will learn on their own. In the street, illiterate kids will learn on their own. No, they won't. They will not learn to read or write on their own. Another researcher, Mark, whom I know from the University of California, went to India and asked the people in the local communities what they thought of the Hole in the Wall project. And this is what he said. The parents thought there was no relevant content and thought it was irrelevant. Even worse, they thought that it distracted their kids from their homework, and the report to university was that most of the time the kids were playing games. Now, I have 2 boys, and I can tell you that's what happens when you leave them on their own all of the time to play with computers. They play games. He also found that there was an incredibly low level of learning, very, very shallow whatever learning took place, that the internet really functioned, and his conclusion in his research paper, and I can send you this if you wish, is that overall the project was not very effective. This is really worrying, because there are thousands of people out there who believe it worked, and are copying it, and it will lead to the trough of disillusionment.